Greetings, my fellow humanoid dwellers. I create videos on technology and other random things. If you like this video, you might like others. If you don't like this video, you still might like others. Consider subscribing to my channel or checking out my Patreon page. If you already subscribe, hit that bell. In this video, we're going to add on to what we did in the last video just to make some changes, clean up the code and make it look a little bit nicer. We're not going to change the HTML, not going to change the CSS or the PHP. We're just going to focus on the JavaScript. We're going to go ahead and we're going to delete the comments or the lines that we commented out. I like to keep the comments if I can while I'm working until I'm sure I'm not going to need them anymore. The other thing you can do is define constants to make your code look a little bit cleaner. Like if you notice you're using something over and over and over again, like in this case, document.getElementById temps, we use that a couple times. So we can come up here, and we can make a constant, and we'll call it temp container. And that's the container that's going to hold the canvas. And we'll make it equal to that document getElementById. And then we can copy it, and wherever we would use that, we can just put it in place of it. We could also put it down here in place of this first part of this line. But since we use this getElementById temps and the getContext2D over and over, we can make a variable out of that. We'll call this the temperature canvas, and it's temp container because we can use the variable we just made right above it, and then we just add the get context. Now we can copy that, and wherever we used that, we can paste it in there. And this just makes the code look a little bit cleaner, and it decreases the amount of typing. Let's go ahead and save that and make sure that we didn't break anything. We're leaving this right where we left off, and you can see we get the same results that we had before. The next thing I want to do is I want to make it so that the temperature starts from over here and works our way this way. So that way as the line gets drawn, it looks like the data is moving across the screen, but we want to start it from this edge. So if we only have 10 points of data to start with, it's only going to come this far, but as we add points, it'll just fill up this screen. In order to make it draw from the back to the front, we're going to have to reverse the order of our data. So instead of pushing data onto the back of the array, we're going to have to put data onto the front of the array and then knock off the data on the back, because we're going to draw it in a backwards order. We're going to draw the most recently collected temperature first and then work our way to the older temperatures. Whereas in the previous way we've done it, we've been drawing the oldest temperature first and working our way the other way. The way you do that is here is where we were shifting data off of the front of the array. Instead, we're going to unshift data onto the array. Instead of pushing data onto the array, we're going to pop data off of the back of the array. So the shift command pulls data off the front of the array. The unshift puts data back onto the front of the array. The push command pushes data onto the back of the array. The pop command pulls it off the back of the array. Now we're going to have to focus our attention down in this area, because this is where we're actually plotting the data, where we're setting our first point, and then we're drawing a line, and then we go back to where that line ended, and we set the point, and then we draw a new line. We do that over and over. What we have to do now is we have to reverse how we're doing that. Now, in order to get the data to start from the right, we're going to have to take the values that we currently get and subtract it from 800, and that will just invert the data from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. We have to do that from both where we start and where we end. Or should I say, we We have to do that from both the start point and where we draw the line to. This will have to be now in brackets also, in parentheses also. So we take this whole value and subtract 800 from it. But now that the data is coming in the other way, we have to switch these two around too, because we want to take it from where we currently are, and then we want to draw it to the point that's right behind the point, or the previous data collected. So we're going to skip one just like we did before, and then we're going to go to the next oldest data point, locate it, and then draw a line to the current data point. And we're going to do that over and over and over. Now we'll go ahead and save this at this point and see what we get. And you can see that I still have something wrong up here because it should be drawing it the other way. It's like I've got the lines going the opposite way. We'll go back and check the math one more time. So this needs to be I plus 1, because the next older data would be 1 forward, not 1 back. I think we'll also be able to remove this if greater than. Save it again and we'll see. There we go. Now we've got the line going up and then back down. So our data is still upside down, but it appears that we're getting a nice line now. Just to confirm that this is working, if I warm the sensor, this line should go down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick here just to verify. And you can see that it is working just like we would expect. But let's go ahead and go back and let's invert this so it's displaying the right way. It's also chopping off data here. So what we need to do is we need to expand the array so it can contain more data so that this line just keeps going across the screen. So we're going to go ahead and try and do 2 steps at once here. In order to get the temperature to flip over, we just have to subtract the data from 320. Whatever our value is, subtract it from 320, it will shift the number from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. This is important that you don't do this backwards. If you were to subtract the temperature from 320, you would get a negative number. You have to subtract 320 from the temperature. Same thing down here. You have to subtract 800 from the value in order to invert the side, to go from the left side to the right side. The thing we want to do is, we currently have the length of the temp array set to 10. And down in here, in this for loop down here, it's never going to get any larger than 10. So what we want to do is we want to change the length of our temp array. So we don't want to pop anything off it unless the array is a certain length. So in other words, it'll sit at 10 for now, but it'll keep collecting data if we don't pop anything off the bottom of it. So we're going to put an if statement, and if the temp array dot length is greater than, if we're going every 10 seconds, and we're going with a 10 pixel width, and we know we have 800 is the length, we cannot go over 80. So let's just go ahead and set it at 75 points for right now. We'll put some curly braces on it. Okay, so now this is not going to pop anything off until the temp array gets larger than 75 values in it. The other thing down here though is this will have to be increased. You can't just make it 75 though, because it'll be an error, because the length of that temporary array is going to change. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to do the same thing. So as long as the counter is less than the length of the temporary array. But just to be extra careful, we're going to go ahead and subtract 1 from that. So that way we know we're even less, because you know that the array value, the length, could be 10, but since it starts at 0, we want it to be 9. I just want to make sure that I don't cause an error. This will keep us below the length of the array and even 1 less than that. The only thing that will hurt us is we will lose 1 data point, but 1 data point over 75 really shouldn't matter. So for this update, we went ahead and we flipped the chart the other way and we changed the length. We'll see if it all works. I don't normally like making two changes at once, so we'll see if I messed up. We have our line again, just like we had before. Hopefully now it comes down. If you remember, it's going backwards because it's on the oldest data, 10 through 1 now. And it went way down. So now, if this is our temperature, when I hold the sensor, it should go up instead of down. We'll see if that works now. And you can see now that as I hold the sensor, the data goes up. This confuses me a little bit though, because our data points are 10 through 1 for here. If you subtract those from 800, they should be down here and then it should go up. I'm not sure why that's happening. We're just going to keep plugging on though, and maybe it'll make itself apparent as we go. Well, I think I figured out why that's happening. We're doing the change to the temperature. We're subtracting it from 320 and then sticking it on the array and then using the actual array value in the chart. Whereas so these are 1 through 10, they'll stay 1 through 10. Whereas these, the temperature's coming in, it gets flipped and put into the array. If we were to change these values, we'll go ahead and change a couple of these. We'll make these 200. Now I would expect to see the chart should start low and then go up and then go back down and start charting normally. We'll go ahead and save that. I'm not going to upload it right now. We're going to make one more change. In this interval right here, we're collecting data every 10 seconds. I'm going to quicken that up a little bit. Now that we have 75 points, I'm going to go ahead and change it to 1 second and see what we get. Now the data is moving a lot faster. Oh, and I changed the first values, so now we have the stair step. If you remember, the data goes backwards. I should have changed the data at the end of the array, and then you would have seen it start low, then go high, and then come back down. Go ahead and hold the sensor now, and it should change in a more gradual pace. And I'm also not going to time-lapse this. I guess my fingers just aren't very warm. Here it's coming back down. I also want to see what happens over here when it hits the end here. At some point this should start going away. I like the fact that it looks like it's a curve almost. And now this is starting to go away just like we would expect. So now we have a nice temperature charting thing. We could put some numbers out here to make it look a little bit better, but I think you get the idea. If there is any interest in showing how to do that, let me know and I will put out another video on that. The next video I'm going to show how to record the data on the PHP side of it and store the data. So, because right now if I refresh the screen, everything is gone. If we do it in PHP on the server side, we can make it so we can store that data in a file and then access it whenever we want. Kind of like we access the data itself in a file. We can use that same process. So we could set up something that records the data and stores it. You can see by resetting it, now we're back to where we started. That's about it for this video. Thanks for watching.